Hi, I'm Debi Peverill, and this is the weekly tip from Peverill Financial Training Group. Last week I talked about the joy of balancing T4s, and as it turned out, some people want me to tell them exactly how to do that. So that's what I'm talking about this week. So the deal with the T4 is that it is a form that you send to the government to tell them how much you paid each of your employees during the year and what deductions you took for EI, for CPP, and for income tax. There are other things you could be doing, like pension plans, union dues, charitable donations, but I'm going to assume that if you've got all that going on, you've got an accountant doing your T4 and you don't need to figure this out for yourself. So the deal with the deductions are that whatever amounts you take from your employees in 1 month, you must send those amounts with some of your own money to CRA by the 15th of the following month. So if you take a salary in December and you withhold EI, CPP, and tax from that salary you paid to your employees, then by January 15th, you have to send in the CPP that you deducted. So let's say you took $10 from an employee, $10 of CPP from the employee, you send that with 10 of your own dollars to CRA by the 15th of the next month. If you took $10 of EI, you send that with 14 of your own dollars to CRA by the 15th of the next month. So every month during 2017, you figured out how much you had taken from your employees, you calculated the amount you owed as the employer on top of that number, and you sent it to the government. So now it's the moment of truth. You've got to figure out if you send in the right numbers. So to do this process, you need to gather up a couple of pieces of paper. You need a list of what you paid to every employee. Ideally, it looks like this. You've got their names, their pay, EI, CPP, tax, and a net pay. And if you had to, you could make sure that net pay was exactly right by looking at what you paid to each one of the employees. You also have the amount that you sent into CRA for your remittances. You can get that a couple of ways. You can go to the My CRA on their website and find out the amount that you've remitted. That amount will be very clear there by year. You can add up the check stubs if you've done it by sending checks that you've sent to them every month during the year. Now those months would be from February through to January of 2018, because remember we've got that month delay. So once you've got this information gathered, you're ready to do the T4 slip itself, and you're going to do a slip for each one of your employees. So in addition to the numbers, you need to know their social insurance number, their name, and their address. Sometimes if you fill in a T4 without an address, CRA won't consider it to be properly filed, and you might be looking at some penalties. So the deal with the form. Box 14 is where you put the gross amount of salary that you paid to each employee. Box 16 is where you put the amount of CPP that you withheld from that employee. Box 18 is where you put the amount you withheld for EI. That finishes that column. The top of the next column, you're going to put the amount of tax you withheld in box 22. Box 24 is EI insurable earnings, and normally it is the same amount as what you have in box 14 unless they hit the annual maximum. Okay? The same deal for CPP, that goes in box 26, and it's the same as the amount in box 14 unless, again, they've hit the annual maximum. So every employee that you have, you're going to fill in the T4 for each one of them. Once you've filled in each of the T4s, you're ready to add some numbers together and get your T4 summary to balance. So that's the slips. Now we moved on to the summary. The T4 summary, they've got the same box numbers on the summary. So box 16 is going to be all of the CPP contributions that you have in box 16 for each of your employees, but you got to add them all together. My example, there's 3 of them. You add the 3 of them together, you put that number in box 16. Box 27, which is the one that comes right after 16, don't ask, that is the same number as what's in box 16, because remember your CPP is the same. If you took $10 CPP, you send it with 10 of your own dollars. The next box down is 18, which is your EI. That is, in my example, $1,222.50. And the next box, which is box 19, is the amount of EI for the employer, which is 1.4 times the amount that was in box 18, which in our example is $1,711.50. Next box is 22, which is all of the tax that you withheld from your employees. And you're now going to add up all those boxes, 16, 27, 18, 19, 22, and put the total you get in box 80. Now, if everything is going right in your world, that box 80 will agree to the dollar to what you wrote in box 82, which is the amount you sent to the government. So those two numbers are the same, let's say, for the sake of enjoyment. Then you have a couple of other things to put on the T4 summary and you're done. On the far left-hand side, you've got a box 88, which is the number of slips. So in our case, we'd put 3 there. The box underneath that is box 14, again, which is the total of all of the salaries that you have paid in the year. If you're able to, you should balance that to what your books actually say, because it's a good idea if you've got that salary amount in your books that you can back it up with what you actually paid the employees. On the bottom, you're going to put in your name, your phone number, you're going to sign it, and you can either file this electronically or you can drop it off to CRA in one of their mailboxes or mail it to them. I would rather you didn't mail it to them. Either put it in one of the boxes outside their office or file it electronically. So that's the happy story if it balances. What if it doesn't balance? So first step, check your addition. Maybe you just added something up wrong, and it's possible that you've made a mistake. In our example, one of our employees was not eligible to have EI deducted. Maybe when you did the calculation, you added EI in for them when you shouldn't have. Someone who is employed by a business they own, they're not eligible for EI, so there wouldn't be any EI taken for them. So that can maybe cause you a little bit of trouble. If it's still not working out, you might go back and see if there's any months where you didn't actually send in the money to CRA. Sometimes what you find out here is that you missed a month somewhere along the line. Now I'm assuming you already knew that. Clearly the numbers aren't going to balance with what should have been sent in and what was sent in if you know you're missing a couple of payments. But it should agree to the amount you think you're missing. If you get this down to a few bucks, it may not be worth your while trying to figure out why you have sent in $4 or $5 more or less than you should have. And depending on your level of bookkeeping excitement, you may decide that you're not going to look for it any further. You send it in to CRA, and if it turns out you owe them some money, then you'll pay it when it comes in. You may also get a form later on called the PIER report, PIER, and that will come up if you have taken the wrong amount of EI or CPP from anybody based on their formulas. So hopefully that gets you closer to being able to prepare and balance your own T4s. As I've said before, this is the kind of work that excites people so much that everybody wants to be an accountant.